Thank you, Chair. I want to follow up on an FOI as well, like my colleague, Senator Bragg. It's FOI 2025, numbers 154 and 156. They were first submitted on the 9th of July, which meant they had a due date of the 8th of August. I agreed to 2 extensions of time, a 20-day extension of time and a 10-day extension of time, and the Information Commissioner additionally authorised a 21-day extension of time. That meant that the FOIs were due back on the 29th of September, and we are now the 7th of October, and it's still not been provided. Is there anyone here who can provide an update on that?
So we may need to just get a copy of that FOI, so we know, what does it relate to, Senator?
The appointment of Mike Kaiser.
I see, okay. We'll just get the relevant officers to the table. I think I'm not familiar with that FOI or the status of it. So we may get our officers with responsibility for FOI to the table.
Thank you.
It would be useful to...
Senator, with apologies, we're still processing that. It's not too far away.
Okay, that's encouraging, but I might try and pin you down to be a little bit more specific than not too far away.
I will put pressure on the relevant people when I return to the office.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, not too much pressure. I don't want to
in a gentle, supportive way.
I don't want to be responsible for a workplace complaint, but
of course.
I would be very grateful if you could turn that around. Are you familiar with the substantive issues? Are you responsible for the substantive issues around the appointment?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, I will persist as best I can without the benefit of these documents to ask questions about the substantive issues. The Public Service Commission has provided some documents to me, and in those documents they say that there was a 4-person panel to appoint Mr Kaiser to his position at the Department of Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Water. That was Dr Kennedy, Ms Frame and Dr Wilkinson, as well as Dr De Brouwer. Is that right? Is your understanding?
That's correct from my recollection.
In the schedule of documents, each of them made a conflict of interest declaration. Do you know, I won't ask you about other departments and agencies, but do you know what Dr Kennedy's conflict of interest was in relation to this appointment?
No, I don't. The Public Service Commissioner are appearing later in the week, and yes. I think that's best directed to them because they manage that part of the process.
Okay.
In terms of that panel and the interviews they had in the complex collection, all the rest of it. I never saw those four.
Thank you. I will ask them about that. So you're not personally familiar with what that might have been?
No.
No. Okay. So do you have any knowledge of how his conflict was managed?
No. Again, question for the Public Service Commissioner. They handle that.
Question for APSC. Okay. Do you know whether Dr Kennedy was personally supportive of Mr Kaiser's appointment?
I think there's probably 2 things to point to here. That there was the process that the Public Service Commissioner ran, which we call a closed competitive process, where they assessed various candidates. And then what happens after that is the Secretary of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet provides a report to the Prime Minister in consultation with the Public Service Commissioner under the Public Service Act, setting out options for appointment. And so Dr Kennedy signs off on that report. And obviously Mr Kaiser was one of the people who was considered in that report. So in that sense, yes, of course.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but from other instances in the past, I'm aware that sometimes there's such things, such categorisations as preferred or non-preferred or most preferred or recommended or not recommended. Is that the kind of categorisation that would have gone in that report to the Prime Minister?
I'd have to go back and look at the particular brief, but we do it in a number of ways. Sometimes we just present a number of candidates all effectively equally ranked as suitable, for want of a better term. Sometimes we differentiate out. I'd have to go back and look at that.
So you don't know what happened in this instance?
No, I know there were a number of candidates who were eligible for appointment, if I can put it that way, but I can't recall the exact categorisation we used.
So should we assume from the fact that Mr Kaiser was appointed that the panel said that he was suitable?
I think you can assume that, yes.
And were there any other candidates who were deemed suitable?
Yes.
Okay, so multiple candidates were deemed suitable. And among those suitable candidates, did the panel have a preferred candidate or a recommended candidate among them?
I'd need to check that.
Okay, and if so, was it Mr Kaiser? Was he the preferred or recommended candidate?
Check.
Thank you. Do you know whether or not the recommendation of the panel was unanimous?
No, again, there's the two aspects here. In terms of the panel aspect of the process, I think that's best directed to the Public Service Commissioner. And then we do that sort of second bit where the Secretary provides his advice, which includes the panel's views. But yes, I understand it was unanimous, but I would check that with the Public Service Commissioner.
Right. And you said that there were a number of candidates who were deemed suitable. How many?
Again, I'd have to check. I understand they spoke with 4 candidates.
4 were interviewed?
Interviewed, yes.
But not necessarily all of them would have been deemed suitable? Or
again, I can't remember the
they?
categorisation we looked at that was used. I'd have to take that on notice.
Okay. And so there was no disagreement then among the panel about his recommendations, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge, okay. It's not unusual for departmental secretaries to be appointed who have, in their careers, served in a ministerial office. John Kennedy himself among them. That's utterly routine and consistent on both sides of Parliament and government. Are you aware, though, of any instance where a former politician, a serving former politician, has been appointed as a secretary of a department?
Not to my knowledge, but I
I'm
can't
not
claim a
either.
particular huge amount of knowledge on that.
I'm not either in the modern era. Maybe there was someone in the
Indeed.
1920s or something, but I'm not aware in the modern era. So is it fair to say it's unprecedented?
Well, I just can't say.
Yep. He's also not only just a former elected Member of Parliament for the Labor Party, a partisan politician, but he was a state secretary of the Labor Party, which is an inherently political position. He campaigns for the election of Labor MPs and candidates. Are you aware of a secretary of a political party ever being appointed as secretary of a
Senator, I
department?
understand the point you're making, but he's also served most recently as a very senior public servant in Queensland. And the more recent experience is as a senior public servant. I think that was the thing that was most driving the panel, if I can put it that way.
Yes, but one of the core values of the APS is that the public service should be impartial and apolitical.
Indeed.
In his career, in fact, for a substantial portion of his career, he was a partisan political professional, and I value and respect those people. They have a contribution to make to democracy, but it is unusual for them to be appointed as secretaries of departments. In fact, I'm not aware of any precedent of a state secretary of any political party reaching this level of appointment in the public service. Are you?
Not that I can think of.
Well, I think perhaps, Senator Patterson, we could point, as Mr Walter already has, to the roles that Mr Kaiser performed in the Queensland government. You know, he was the Director General of the Department of Premier and Cabinet. He was a Director General of the Department of State Development, Infrastructure, Local Government and Planning. He's Director General of the Department of Resources. He's also had extensive private sector experience. He has delivered on a range of projects. I think the point Mr Walter is drawing you to is that his selection was undertaken in the ordinary way, through the ordinary processes of the public service, which are, as you would understand, merit-based.
So, indeed, you're right. Queensland Labor governments have also appointed him to public service positions, but that doesn't change the fact that prior to that he was a partisan political participant. And as I said, that's obviously what I am too. No disrespect for that, but I'm trying to understand the precedent and the process here. In addition to being a partisan political operative, he's also someone who had to resign as a Member of Parliament after being investigated for electoral fraud, is he not?
Senator, I'm only, I'm struggling to recall the circumstances of that. That was a very long time ago. If I recall correctly, there was a process that was followed through. Following that resignation, there were no findings against him. So, I'd have to go back and look that up. I'm not sure I could agree to that assertion.
You're right, it was 25 years ago, and I'm someone who believes that we are all better than our worst moment, that none of us are perfect human beings, and that there is a place for redemption, including in public life. So I wouldn't want to write someone off completely because of that, but these are material facts on the public record. There was a corruption inquiry called the Shepardson Inquiry in 2001 in Queensland. And in the report of that inquiry, Mr Kaiser is mentioned 178 times, and one relevant extract I'll read to you is in relation to electoral fraud. In 1986, Michael Kaiser was a young member of the party. He had admitted to the inquiry that he signed an electoral enrolment dated 7 January 1986, enrolling him at 11th 7th Avenue, Coorparoo, even though he never lived there. He resigned as the member for Woodridge immediately after making this admission. However, as the time limitation for prosecuting false enrolment offence had passed, no recommendation to the Queensland Director of Public Prosecutions could be made. Charges for conspiracy under the Criminal Code of Queensland are not subject to time limit for prosecution. However, given the time lapse and the fact that Kaiser could not be prosecuted for an offence of false enrolment, it was considered that a court would determine it to be unfair to bring a charge of conspiracy to commit the offence for false enrolment against Kaiser. The evidence Kaiser gave concerning the 1986 enrolment conflicted with evidence he had earlier given the inquiry that he had never been involved in false enrolments. For reasons explained in this report, it was decided not to recommend the matter be referred to the Queensland Director of Public Prosecutions for consideration of perjury charges. I mean, you're right, this is some time ago, but these are serious matters. I mean, electoral fraud is a serious matter. What consideration was given to these issues as part of the interview process?
In terms of the interview process, again, I think you'd need to ask the Public Service Commissioner about that.
Well, I will, and I appreciate that you personally may not have been directly involved, but the Secretary of this department was, and I think PMC must be able to answer for the Secretary's involvement in this appointment, which is contentious. So did Dr Kennedy ask Mr Kaiser about these issues?
Again, Senator, I wasn't involved in that part of the process. You've got the Public Service Commissioner who was, and I think that's the best place to ask those questions.
Sure. Were they canvassed in the selection report?
So, Senator, of course we alerted the Prime Minister to the fact that those matters exist in the past. As I noted earlier, they occurred a very substantial period of time ago. Mr Kaiser has gone on to have a long career in public service, including at the highest levels, and those factors weigh as well.
Sure. Let me move on to some other aspects of the appointment. To make a comparison with another senior public service appointment recently, the position of Finance Secretary was vacant for 3.5 months. It took 3.5 months for the process to appoint Mr Yiannopoulos, who we look forward to seeing later tonight or tomorrow. By contrast, this position, as I understand it, was filled in 3 weeks. Is that right?
No, that's not quite right, because unlike the situation in relation to finance, we had advance notice that Mr Fredericks was planning to step down. So we had a greater lead time in terms of going through that process than we would have. We did in the case of the Secretary of Finance, where obviously the decision was made to move Secretary Wilkinson to Treasury. Right,
but it was only publicly announced on the 19th of May this year that Mr Fredericks was stepping down, and it was that he would step down on the 20th of June. It was on the 8th of July that Mr Kaiser's appointment was announced. So when did you first advertise for the vacancy?
So, as I mentioned earlier, this process was done through what we call a closed competitive process, which is by invitation.
Right. So it was not a transparent.
So we don't do a public. We didn't do public advertising. That's consistent with what we do with almost all secretary appointments. And historically, under all governments, it's been either direct appointment or closed competitive process. The only process I'm aware of where there was an advertising process was the last time the agriculture position was filled.
Right. So It was a non-public process. When were candidates first approached?
Again, that part of the process was run by the Public Service Commissioner, so I suggest you direct questions to them.
Again, I will, but are you saying it's not within your knowledge? You don't know? When...
No, I genuinely don't know when they were first
Okay,
approached.
all right. If you genuinely don't know, I'll take you at your word. But nonetheless, the public information that we have... Maybe I'll go back another step. When did Mr Fredericks announce that he was stepping down? Or did he inform the government that he had no intention of continuing his role?
If you just give me a moment, I'll grab a note. I came to the table to answer your FOI question.
Indeed.
Up here. If you just give me one moment.
Of course.
Sorry. I'll see if I've got that information here. So it was, yes, as you say, it was announced on the 19th of May with effect from the 20th of June of 2025. But we had, I'd have to go and check when we became aware that Mr Fredericks was intending to resign, but we had a bit of advance notice.
Was it Mr Fredericks' decision to resign, or
Yes.
did the government
Yes, he resigned.
want to appoint a new secretary?
It was Mr Fredericks' decision to resign.
Okay. And you say sometime before 19 May, but you don't know how much earlier?
No, I'll see if I can
Was it
find that out for you.
Days or weeks or months or
I think it was weeks.
weeks? Right. So nonetheless, let's say it's weeks for argument's sake. We're still looking at a process much more expeditious than the process to replace the Finance Secretary. Why? Is it routine to be able to make an appointment like this so quickly?
Well, we have done some in much shorter time than that, depending on the circumstances. We do try and do them expeditiously. You don't want to have the situation where you have very long periods of time with acting arrangements in departments. The finance one took a little bit longer than we would have liked, but we're very confident we've got the right person. So no, I thought this was about right.
On the 5th of February 2024, Minister Gallagher announced a review by Linnell Briggs into public sector board appointments process. And she said in the media release, and I quote, "This review is all about putting an end to the jobs for mates culture that defined the previous Morrison government's public sector appointments." Kind of seems like Mr Kaiser is a mate of the Labor Party and of the government. Has the Briggs review recommendations been implemented for public sector appointments yet?
I think perhaps I will ask Mr Walter to answer the substance of your question, but I will refer to the point I've previously made, which is that Mr Kaiser, as has already been outlined to you, was selected through a public service process that is consistent with the ordinary approach to selection. And those steps that were taken by the Australian Public Service Commission and then by the Secretary of this department have been outlined to you fairly clearly, Senator. And I don't think it is reasonable to characterise the appointment in the way that you have in your question. But you asked Mr Walter about implementation of the review, and I'll ask him to address that part of your question.
So again, Senator, I'm going to refer you to the Public Service Commissioner on the Briggs review. They're responsible for that work.
PMNC has no role in implementing the Briggs review?
The Briggs review was, as you've already noticed, commissioned by the Minister for the Public Service and was done so through the Public Service Commission. So I won't say we have no role, of course we were consulted during the process and so forth, but it's the Public Service Commission that is leading that work.
Okay. Do you have any visibility?
Senator Paterson, can I just alert you to the fact that you have a couple of colleagues who also wish to ask some questions?
Thank you. I'm well aware and I'll make sure they get an opportunity. Thank you. Does the PMNC have any visibility of a public release of the Briggs report?
Okay, Public Service Commission question for them.
Okay. But PMNC has, would have a copy of the report. I've put an FOI into PMNC about it.
I've certainly seen a draft of the report.
Right. I mean, it's about public sector appointments. PMC is critical to that process, as we've been discussing. Does PMC have a copy of the report?
Yes, I believe we have the final copy of the report. It's about board appointments in particular.
Sure.
And again, Public Service Commission has led that work, and I think questions on the Briggs review are best directed to them.
Yeah, so you can't talk to, you're not familiar with the recommendations of the report?
It's been a long time since I looked at them. I did look at them some time ago, but I think, again, Public Service Commission is the place to direct those questions.
I'm sorry, your name tag is behind the thing.
okay.
So, sorry, Ms Sullivan, you came to the table, I assume, because you had information that you could assist with my line of questioning, so I should offer you the opportunity to add anything?
Nothing to add, Senator.
No, okay. It's always a dangerous thing to come forward and give a senator an
I
opportunity.
had mixed feelings about it.
Fair enough. I don't blame you. Okay, I will pursue this matter further at another time. Thank you.
Thank you.